Stay tuned for the Dream Journal with Catherine Bell.
Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me.
Good morning. You are listening to KSQD Santa Cruz, KSQD 90.7 FM, streaming live at ksqd.org. I am Catherine Bell, and this is the Dream Journal. Today, I am sorry to say that I'm having to postpone an interview which I had been looking forward to with lucid dream expert Robert Waggoner. I'm not feeling 100% well and want to do the right thing and keep my germs to myself instead of risking spreading them to the roughly 100 people who use this on-air studio every week. As the only local community radio station in Santa Cruz, we are dedicated to serving this town during this ongoing situation and every day going forward. Instead of a live show today, I'm therefore offering a replay of one of the few remaining Dream Journal episodes that have not yet been released as a podcast. It is a conversation with local dream practitioner Marsha Hudson, which was originally aired on May 25th. We talk about dreams and trauma, dreamwork and social activism, the similarity of dreams and poems, and the Love and Power Institute, an entity which Marsha founded with her partner, Norman Brown, which seeks to change the conversation around the traditional emotional roles for men and women. You will notice some differences in format in this show, which aired 10 months ago when the Dream Journal had only been on the air for 8 weeks. You will hear full versions of songs rather than the 30-second clips which we now use. But perhaps most noticeably, you will hear the absence of our fabulous background music. Rick Cleffel does appear in this show, but as program assistant rather than as a musician. We didn't start his music as a regular feature until July. At the end of this show, I will guide you in an exercise called the 90-second check-in, which is scientifically designed to nourish your nervous system. If done regularly, the 90-second check-in will significantly reduce your cortisol levels, something we all need, especially in these trying times, so do stay tuned for that offering. Sadly, you will not be able to call in this week. We will be back next week with the author of Lucid Dreaming, Gateway to the Inner Self, a classic book now in its 14th printing. The author is Robert Waggoner, and he will be on the Dream Journal April 4. Today, please enjoy this conversation with dream practitioner Marsha Hudson, Ph.D. Take it away, Catherine. Have you ever thought that maybe we are making this world a better place, one dream at a time? This is Catherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork, and welcome to the Dream Journal. In the words of Carl Jung, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. I'd like to remind you that the views and opinions expressed in this program do not necessarily represent those of Natural Bridges Media or of KSQD's staff, volunteers, or underwriters. I'd like to start with my personal work. One of the amazing, powerful things about dreams I find is that it enables me to start to reframe my past. and that I might have certain stories about what it's like to be me. And some of those stories are very painful and they're not helpful. And some stories are helpful. Some stories are about what a powerful, articulate person I am. So she's stumbling for her words. But I also have these stories, and one of the stories in particular I have is that that relationships are difficult for me. And this is like a persisting story that's, gone back to high school, back when I had friends holding hands and kind of coupling up, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. But part of my story at the time was that this is something wrong with me, that there's this idea that something is broken, like something's just wrong. And lately I've been having a dream. I had some dreams that have helped me reframe some of that. And I just recently got back from Brighton Bush Retreat Center in Oregon. In fact, I got back last night working with Bill St. Cyr of Students of the Dream, who's been a guest on this show before. And we took a dream that I had, which was a very uncomfortable sexual experience in the dream. And we reworked it by exploring the idea that maybe my choices have just been my choices, and not that there's anything wrong with me. But maybe there's nothing, that's just my choice. Maybe, high school is a little early to start sexual activity, said the mother of a high school person. So, maybe it's fine to choose. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me necessarily. So this is what I've been mulling over is that maybe things I thought were actually wrong with myself, in fact, are just things that I have chosen. And it's a very empowering place to be, to think of my actions as choices rather than something that I'm trapped in or I have trauma about, which, there is trauma. There's no joke about that. But maybe some of the things that I've judged myself for are really just fine the way that they are. And the dreams really help me unfold that. And I so appreciate the dreams, how they come in the night and help me unwind my stories, and also working with somebody to help me unwind those stories, because often we're so close to our own situation that we just can't get leverage on what's happening for us, what's really unfolding and changing and growing. So I'm Catherine Bell, and you are listening to the Dream Journal on KSQD Santa Cruz, K-Squid 90.7 FM, streaming live at ksqd.org. We are here in the studio with local practitioner Marsha Hudson. Marsha Hudson, Ph.D., has been a professional dreamwork facilitator for 2 decades and offers groups, workshops, and individual sessions from her home office in Santa Cruz. She is a certified dreamworker and a certified gestalt practitioner. Her approach to dreamwork is the projective method, popularized by the late Jeremy Taylor, which is anchored in Jungian principles. Marsha has been a steady supporter of the International Association for the Study of Dreams and has served as the regional representative for the last 10 years. Further, she is the founder of the Dreamers Forum, which she has hosted for 3 years. Dr. Hudson's Ph.D. is in comparative literature with a focus on poetry, and for the first 30 years of her professional life, she taught composition, creative thinking, and women's studies to 2- and 4-year colleges in California, ending with UC Santa Cruz. She is the editor-in-chief of the anthology, The Berkeley Literary Women's Revolution, Essays from Marsha's Salon, published in 2005 by McFarland and Company. With her partner, Norman Brown, Ph.D., she is the co-founder of the Love and Power Institute, which, through workshops and groups, helps people of all ages become more empathic in order to create a more loving human presence on the planet. Welcome, Marsha. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Maybe you could start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your journey with your dreams. How did you first get interested in dreaming?
Well, as a mammal, I've been dreaming all my life, as have all of you and our pets. You probably have stories to tell about your dog or your cat when you thought they were dreaming. And as a person attracted to literary studies from a very young age, I was always interested in my dream life, because those were little novels or little stories or little poems that my system, I thought of it as my unconscious, created for me. So I started keeping a dream journal somewhere in my teens, and have consistently done so most of my life since. So when I decided to exit from teaching, I did so through developing my dream work self, and became a professional dream worker. And I exited teaching after, as my bio says, 30 plus years, which I loved. I'm passionate about teaching, and doing dream work in some ways allows me to continue on helping people understand themselves and understand the world around them.
Well, talk about stories. I mean, as a literature professor, stories were a lot of what you're all about, it sounds like.
For sure. My focus was in poetry, though if you study literature far enough back, it was only in the last 400 years that literature moved into prose and away from poetry. And I've studied French, Spanish, and English literature, as well as ancient Greek literature, and that's all poetry until you get into more contemporary times. And I mention the poetry so very much, partly because I'm a poet, and I value poetry highly, but also because dreams are like poems. And the way to get to their meaning is to appreciate and honor the metaphoric and symbolic ways of understanding a dream or a poem. And they are so much like poems for me, and I believe they all come from the same source within us, which is a very deep touchstone part of self. But the way to get to them is through the same universal language of symbol and metaphor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's something really, really deep about that dreams and poems come from the same place.
Right.
And they speak in the same language, the language of metaphor and narrative story, or even not always narrative, because dreams sometimes are kind of image. Yeah,
it's so interesting the way the human mind works, and I think the way we tell and talk about our dreams, regardless of culture, is pretty much the same. We find a way of capturing whatever that dream brought to us, and tell it as a story. Though, as you say, it may be lots of images strung together, but within the images there's something to describe. So we do that description of where we are as the dreamer, and where what's happening in the action, whether we're in the action or watching it from afar. It's still I use novelistic language, like it's called the omniscient. The omniscient narrator is the one who knows everything, as opposed to the narrator who is circumscribed by the ego's experience. That is the first person narrator, but who can only tell what happens to them, only knows what's going on in their heart, can only guess what's in the hearts of others.
Well, I find that dreams also have this different kind of narrators, if you will, that sometimes I'm watching my dream as dispassionately, sometimes even literally on a movie screen, and other times I'm very much involved in the action.
Right, and those are the two most common ways of people, when in my dream groups, people report where they are, because it's of interest to us, and it has to do really with the consciousness. If you are in the dream, and also here we are with film language, point of view, the POV is up in the air somewhere, like you're a camera up in the air outside the action. You have dual consciousness. You're in it and you're not in it. And then sometimes we're in it and that's it, and then sometimes we're watching it, and when we're doing that, we're distancing ourselves from the action, which is a meaningful piece of information about what that dream means.
Absolutely. And there's certainly no one set meaning for that particular distancing, like if being distanced from the perspective. Like there is, people talk about, I have not really experienced this, but people talk about dreaming at a point where they're observing the action, and yet and yet it's more of like a meditative space or kind of a witness space of actually being very emotionally involved in the action or supportive of the action, and yet witnessing the action from a little bit of a remove, like it's sort of I think that's sort of is it a Buddhist tenet where you want to be a little bit removed from your life? And so there's a difference, for me, there's a difference between being a witness versus being dissociated and really like pretending that's not me over there.
Right. That's an important distinction, and there are many probably gradations within that as we talk about a particular dream. And witness is a really good word, Catherine, I think, to get at oftentimes what's going on when we are the camera rather than an actor in our own dream.
Well, certainly in things like traumatic things that happen in our life, it actually happens even in waking life, when there's moments when you have to remove yourself from your body and you just have to take care of business. You're like, okay, this is the moment when I have to be efficient. I have to get out of this dangerous place. I have to save my family. I have to save myself. And you do kind of remove yourself from your own body in a way that we've talked about with trauma in the show before, that there is a way that sometimes we kind of remove ourselves even in waking life. But the hope is that later we can go back and integrate that experience. And I think our dreams help a lot with helping us to reconnect with even these really horrible situations in a helpful way, in a healthful way, I guess I would say. That we don't want to, that we don't want to relive the trauma, but we want to somehow make sense of it.
And I think we want to tame the trauma so that it doesn't run us. I was thinking about trauma recently because I recently had a very traumatic experience where I was driving home from San Jose last Saturday night, rainy night, you might remember. I think it was really storming here in Santa Cruz as well. And for the first time in my life, I had a serious car accident. My car spun out. It was on a curve right before the Summit Road, and it spun out, and I twirled. That is to say, the car twirled. I sat in the car kind of captured 2 or 3 times before it came to a stop facing down in the direction which I had come. And I was totally unharmed, and my car was totaled. So I'm now without a car. And the after effects, even though I was not physically harmed, which is, I think, a miracle in itself, is that I have been really irritable. I have been quick to flare into anger. So I really got shook up emotionally, and I'm still in that after effect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's like that can really put us on edge, because then we're like looking for the next thing to happen, perhaps. Is that what
yes, there is that. It's kind of, in fact, I have been edgy. I may hear a loud sound. This is real trauma stuff. I mean, this is straight out of the textbook. And I jump, or somebody raises their voice because they're just normally raising their voice, not because they're saying anything in particular. And I jump. But I was reflecting on how my dream life responds to serious trauma in my instance. And since I facilitate dream groups, I hear a lot of different stories from a lot of different people. So in my case, I was just reflecting on a dream I had this morning, which could or could not have to do with that trauma, which is the beauty of dreams, because they're multivalent. There's lots of different interpretations of any one dream, really. But one of the images in the dream, and a major image, was that I could not find my purse. And it was a red purse. And it was under somebody's seat. I was in a large auditorium with a lot of people. It was like a conference. And I'm pushing people's legs aside, and I'm crawling around on the floor, and I'm trying to find my purse, and I can't find it, and I can't find it. This goes on and on. So I can use that dream with meanings that apply to aspects of my life more than just, of course, the recent trauma. But when I think about it in the context of the trauma, it's really as though the trauma took something from me. I have lost something, and I need to get it back. And if nothing else, I would say it's equanimity. though there's probably other deeper meanings of what is lost that needs to be found.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah, there's something amazing about the way the dreams bring us what we need. And there's something about what you've lost of value here. And it's not just any purse, it's a red purse. Do you have a purse like that?
No.
Okay.
That's my dream purse.
That's your dream purse. All right, so there's something there that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crawling on the floor. It sounds like there's a lot of energy, a lot of desperation even.
Yeah, very focused. And the thing about the color red, you can just go with that. That's passion.
Mm-hmm.
It's blood, which is life. It's passion. It's vibrancy. So all of that could take me in a certain direction of thinking about what I'm looking for.
Thank you. So this is the Dream Journal with Catherine Bell, and we are speaking today with Marsha Hudson. I'd now like to play a song for you, which was recommended by my Dream Journal listener, Bobby Suter. And this is all about Ray Charles, a dream about Ray Charles, sung by Joan Osborne.
Wow.
You're listening to the Dream Journal on K-Squid, your ink spot on the dial. So we're back in the studio here with Marsha Hudson. One of Marsha's particular passions is how dream work can change the world. So, Marsha, welcome back.
Thank you.
And maybe you could say a little more about dream work and social activism.
Yes, actually, that's one of the primary attractants I had to doing dream work as a profession. I'm also a writer and do other things, of course. But I wanted to touch people at a level that would bring them together. So this is why I do groups more than I do individual work, though I do individual work, of course. And really what brought me to the connection of dreams and social work, social activism, is a belief in Carl Jung's thesis that we all share a collective substratum that all humanity touches into. That is, with each of us individually as well as with all of us as a species. So it's really the species blueprint that within which resides all of the instincts. He did call them instincts that guide us and affect us, and as such, as we evolve, that can change and does change. For my dream groups, and when I send out a flyer, my flyer almost always says at the top, "Dreams are the workshop of evolution," which is a quote from Sandor Ferenczi, who was a follower of Freud, and obviously a great fan of dreams. And I do believe that through our dreams, not just through all of the other things that we do in our waking life, but mostly through our dreams, through our unconscious life, is how humanity changes. So the important thing is to find a way to get to our unconscious and make it conscious, and dreams is that way.
Yes.
So you have to, of course, believe that there is an unconscious for this to to work for you in the same way. But also, very lately or recently, oppression work has finally taken into acknowledging that our unconscious has a lot to do with how we act in our waking conscious life. That is to say, that I'll just work with racism, but sexism is another one dear to my heart since I'm a long-time feminist, that our unconscious directs us and gives us kind of our blueprint for how to be with each other. And we all know what there is to say about sexism and racism, both how they have harmed the evolution of the species. And so the more that we bring that into consciousness, then the more we can deal with those ailments, if you will, and start correcting our behaviors and correcting our attitudes and correcting our policies. And this can make a major impact.
Wow. Can you say more about specifically how dreams help us deal with an issue like racism or sexism? Maybe in examples or? Well,
definitely you have to have a group where this is of interest to them. And I see my role as a facilitator, and I must also say as a feminist, and as a social activist. I've been on lots of protests all my life. Actually gotten arrested in my life too. You have to be working with people who are interested in that direction. But if they are, then there can be metaphors within our dreams that point to attitudes. We have to be open to those attitudes. The kind of dream work that I practice is called projective dream work. That's misleading for some, but if you appreciate that in a clinical sense even, what we're doing in human beings all over the planet project. And what we're doing when we're projecting is we're projecting out onto others or even objects, but usually people, parts of ourselves that we do not wish to accept as parts of ourselves. In Gestalt, we call that a disowned part of self. Mm-hmm. And so we do that in our dreams. We do that inside our dreams, and we do that in our dream work when we're talking about dreams. And it doesn't matter who you are, we are always projecting, and that is part of what human beings do. But what dream work allows us to do when we're projecting onto a dream parts of ourselves that we do not recognize as part of ourselves, it starts allowing us to see that.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're all willing to see it, and usually we are, or we wouldn't, I believe that we would not be projecting it in that dream group if we were not at a point where we're willing to open up that box and look at what we heretofore had been unwilling to look at. And that brings us face to face with our own sexism and racism.
Mm-hmm.
And I will go so far to say it, regardless of your politics and how you view these ways, these perspectives, we're all part of that. We are all together in being racist and sexist to some degree or another.
I often find that in dreams where I have people of a different ethnic background of myself, like African American, Oriental, Native American, that they are often holding parts of myself that I haven't really claimed yet.
That's a good way to put it. It's a really good way to put it.
But I agree with you. I also have the theory, and it's just a theory, that we wouldn't even remember a dream if it weren't of some help to us, if we weren't ready to deal with the issues that are in the dream.
Yes, I agree with that. And that takes you to the whole thing about nightmares, because people are frightened of nightmares. And I've encountered people who are not interested in dream work because, and with a little bit of urging, they will admit that they're frightened of their dreams. And what they're frightened of is those nasty, horrifying, terrifying dreams that we commonly call nightmares. And in the groups that I move in, the dream groups I do, we applaud when somebody has a nightmare, because that is a dream that has heavy affect, so that you will pay attention, because the message is of great importance to the dreamer. And so we really, I always ask in my groups, anybody got a nightmare? Let's do a nightmare. Yeah.
Right, and those things that come up in nightmares are often not comfortable, which is maybe why that affect is so intense in the dream, and yet it's something that's coming up for us and it's ready to shift.
Yeah.
That's my belief. But of course, nobody should be, forced to share any dream of any kind, but especially nightmares, because nightmares can be very traumatic in their own right, and even if they're helping us work out intense issues, that the nightmare itself can be a form of trauma.
Well, that's an interesting angle. I do believe that anything that we bring to the light, as they say, sunshine is the best
Disinfectant.
Yeah.
I love that.
Anything that we bring into the light, we are bringing it into the light and thereby disarming its power. If it has a negative power, we are disarming its negative power, and we're starting to claim its healing gift. Dreams are healers, and even though I didn't come into my profession to be a healer, I found that as I worked more and more with my students, especially in writing, I discovered that, which I probably had discovered for myself but just never acknowledged, that writing, which is bringing into awareness thoughts and feelings that are inchoate until you capture them and put them down in writing, just the force of the discipline of language, which is a process of lineality on the page, if nothing else, forces us to think through and therefore feel through and therefore begin a healing process.
Thank you, Marsha. So this is the Dream Journal. I'm Catherine Bell, and we're here with my guest, Marsha Hudson. This track I'd like to play for you is also recommended by Bobby Sudor, and I hope you enjoy it.
Well, I dreamed I saw the knights in armor coming, saying something about a queen. There were peasants singing and drummers drumming, and the archers split the tree. There was a fanfare blowing to the sun, there was floating on the breeze. Look at Mother Nature on the run in the 20th century. Look at Mother Nature on the run with the full moon in my eyes. I was hoping for replacement when the sun burst through the sky. There was a band playing in my head, and I felt like I could cry. I was thinking about what a friend had said. I was hoping it was a lie. Thinking about what a friend had said, I was hoping it was a lie. I saw the silver spaceships fly in the yellow haze of the sun. There were children crying and colors flying all around the chosen ones. All in a dream, all in a dream, the loading had begun. Flying Mother Nature's silver sea to a new home in the sun. Flying Mother Nature's silver sea to a new home.
That was After the Gold Rush, a Neil Young song sung by Dolly Parton, Linda Ronstadt, and Emmylou Harris. Thank you, Bobby, for that. So this is the Dream Journal with Catherine Bell. I'm here with Marsha Hudson. Welcome back, Marsha.
Thank you.
I've been loving this conversation that we're having and your willingness to share your personal experiences, Marsha. And it's very vulnerable talking about dreams. I think a lot of people are kind of scared of their dreams because it does touch us. They do touch us so deeply, to really, really deeply.
Yes, and I'm thinking about something that Freud said, that dreams are the highway to the unconscious. And once again, it surprises me when I encounter somebody who actually doesn't believe that we have an unconscious, which I always have believed that. So that is kind of a basic belief, I think, to do useful dream work.
Can I offer something about that?
Yeah.
I've gotten to think about dreams as kind of a autonomic system rather than having to believe in some kind of like Jung. My understanding of Jung was the cultural unconscious, or that there was
collective.
Thank you, that's the word. There was some kind of collective unconscious, and that may still be true. But there's also a part of dreaming that reminds me of the process of breathing. It's rhythmic, it happens below our level of awareness, and is integral to our health. And both of those things are literally, in the medical sense, unconscious. So breathing is something that all day, every day is happening throughout our bodies. We would be lost without our breath. We'd be dead without our breath. That's one of the things that defines life. And yet most of the time we're not even aware of it. And yet there are countless spiritual practices that focus on bringing the breath to consciousness, like meditation and chanting, yoga. So there's a lot of benefit in actually taking this unconscious process and making it conscious, just on a strictly, not even metaphorical level, just on a literal level. And I wonder about dreams, if perhaps they are kind of a immune system. I've come to think of dreams as like an emotional immune system, and some kind of automatic process that happens below the level of consciousness most of the time. And yet we can bring them to consciousness. And by bringing them to consciousness, I have certainly witnessed in myself and the many people I've worked with how powerful that is to make that unconscious process conscious, so that I don't know that we have to believe in like some unconscious collective process or any kind of mythical thing, anything beyond the fact that it's something that happens that we're not aware of every day, all the time.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing with belief systems of other sorts that whether you believe it or not, it can also still exist without your belief in it.
Absolutely.
We know that one.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that is correct. I have been thinking a lot too about why do we dream? Why do we still dream? Why do human beings dream? And why do mammals dream? And the answer has to be something about it being essential to the health and the further survival. It's a survival function, I believe.
Yes.
I mean, that's how evolution typically works for all of us, for our pets and all the creatures as well as for us. So it has not dropped out of our bodies or out of our systems, like the appendix, which is really vestigial. We do not need it, they say. And its function no longer serves us, but dreams are still there, hearty, healthy, and we're dreaming whether we're aware of it or not.
Mm-hmm.
They've proven that with the REM studies and all. So it's a gift. It's a part of being human, and I would encourage everybody to dip in and partake.
Absolutely. Well, Marsha, I want to ask you about the project you're working on now with Norman Brown, the Love and Power Institute. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, absolutely. I'm very passionate about that, too. That also, it seems to me, almost everything comes out of dreamwork, really. The Love and Power Institute is an organization that Norman and I have been working with, have founded and have been working with for over a year. And we call it that because it really has to do with rebalancing, and maybe that's the wrong way to talk about it. But let me just go ahead and say rebalancing the love principle in humankind and the principle towards power in humankind. And typically, in a very stereotypical way, love is associated with the feminine and power is associated with the masculine. We always rush to say, of course, both genders are capable of everything. And an analysis of what's happening on the planet with the climate crisis, which is really heating up, pun intended, and the need for us to take a look at how humankind has structured its systems of governance and culture, that there needs to be a bringing forth of the feminine principle so that love is more dominant over power, because it is the power principle that has gone astray, that I and many people believe is what is getting us into the deep trouble that we're in. And this is not about America. This is about humankind on the planet. So the Love and Power Institute we have been and intend to put out some talks for people to bring more into our awareness. Here's the awareness principle again, of the need for this shifting and higher valuing of women, the feminine principle, than the power principle or the greed principle, however you want to think of it. And in doing so, we believe that men and women both, but especially men in our culture, need to be more, I don't know what the word is here, educated, trained, made aware of all of the range of human emotion, including vulnerability, which is what gets us there.
There we are.
Because people are afraid of being vulnerable now our culture is not the same as all, but this is common in most cultures, that men are discouraged from showing their soft side, their tender side. Oftentimes it's called their feminine side, which I don't think it has to be called feminine, but that's how people think of it, because it is only when they can get more in touch with that, and women need to stay in touch with that we're going to be able to turn the planet around. Not literally. That would be an interesting feat. So to do that, we offer workshops and groups and some one-on-one work. And, of course, DreamWork then starts incorporating this, too. And both Norman and I are dream workers. We have just started up, or will be starting up, a men's group and a women's group which are traditional support groups. They are there to support the participants in all that the participants bring to the group. But we have an underlying substratum for those groups, and that is this concept of the love and power balancing, which needs to be unbalanced in favor of the feminine.
Wow, that sounds like it's a really useful thing that we could really all benefit from.
We want men and women, regardless of sexuality, we're not talking about sexuality, we're talking about gender identity, to work with each other on the project of really redoing the male personality and the female personality. Big job, I know, but you got to start somewhere.
Exactly. Now, Marsha, I understand you also have ongoing projective dream groups here in town. Do you have any new groups starting up soon, or what's the process with that?
So if you're interested in the dream group, please give me a call, and I can put you on the list and save a spot for you.
Well, wonderful. So that brings me to the question, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, best thing is to probably to email me at marshahudson17@gmail.com. That's Marsha Hudson, MARSHAHUDSON 17 @gmail. Or, of course, you can call me at 831-239-4901. That's 831-239-4901. That's my cell phone. It's usually in my pocket.
Wonderful, Marsha. So I know we're close to finishing up, and I wondered if there's anything else you have in mind that you'd like to talk about.
Well, since I'm so big on the topic of love and power, and I do want to say that, by the way, studies have shown that power diminishes one's IQ. It's not a healthy thing to be doing, whereas love does the opposite. And I have a quote for you from Rumi. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. And I might add, dreamwork is a good way to do that.
Exactly. Thank you, Marsha. This has been delightful. Next week, come hell or high water, we will be back with lucid dream expert Robert Wagoner. We will learn about how to become awake inside our nightly dreams to deepen the emotional, spiritual, and physical healing that they offer. Until then, be well and keep on dreamin'. Stay tuned to The Squid, community radio of Santa Cruz. K-Squid 90.7 FM, streaming live at ksqd.org. K-Squid, your source for comfort, connection, and information. At the end of the show, I will guide you in an exercise called the 90-second check-in, which is scientifically designed to nourish your nervous system. If done regularly, the 90-second check-in will significantly reduce your cortisol levels, something we all need, especially in these trying times. So do stay tuned for that offering. I am Catherine Bell, and this has been The Dream Journal. Thanks for listening. You can find out more about experiential dreamwork at experientialdreamwork.com, and I also want to let you know that I do offer free 30-minute consultations if you have a particular dream that you'd like to talk about and it's a little too intimidating to phone in and talk about it in the radio show. You're welcome to get in touch with me, and we can talk about any dreams that you're interested in. You can also reach me at Catherine@ksquid.org. That's KATHERINE@ksqd.org. Let me know if you have something for the show, like announcements about dream-related events or groups, suggestions for interviews, questions about a dream, or ideas for dream-themed music. If you like this show, drop a line to info@ksqd and let them know. I'd like to thank my guest, Marsha Hudson. It was great to have you on.
An absolute pleasure being here. Thank you, Catherine.
You're welcome. I'd also like to thank my program assistant, Rick Kleffel and Kara Milady. And thank you to all the wonderful donors who support this station. K-Squid is 100% listener supported. Donations are always welcome at ksqd.org.
Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries far behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me.
This has been the Dream Journal. Join us again next Saturday at 10 a.m. And when you wake up tomorrow morning, take a minute to look within. Do you remember a dream? Write it down and bring it to the next Dream Journal. Are you ready to open the gift of your dreams? I am Catherine Bell, and you are listening to KSQD Santa Cruz. And now, for the 90-second stress-busting check-in. Let's take a moment now to nourish your nervous system. Turn your attention to your belly and your breathing. Gently allow your stomach to expand outward as you inhale, followed by a long, sustained release. Now, allow your posture to expand into an optimal stance. Sit up or stand up tall. Gently pull your shoulders back and extend your chest outward. Lift up your chin slightly and stretch the corners of your mouth into a slight smile. Warm your eyes with a loving expression, or crinkle them as if you are looking at someone or something that delights you. Now, warmly observe yourself. Imagine that a part of you can step outside your being and just gaze upon yourself as you are in the present moment. Breathe. You have completed the stress-busting 90-second check-in. This simple 3-step process takes only seconds, reduces cortisol, and interrupts mental stress looping while reconnecting you to the present moment. Repeat often and enjoy better mental health.